Well, I'll be no. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday Night Live show. Tim and me today. I know Allie's still very busy. Graduation. Allie's son's graduating from high school, moving
Uh-huh.
on to that next step in life. College.
It's just basically it's a really expensive party, John.
Yeah, 60, 70,000.
Well, fuck
We'll,
learning.
yeah, we'll have to take the upper what is the betting line on the whether he does his own laundry or not. We'll have to see if mom's still gonna will he
Ooh, that's
still
a
be
tough
bringing
one.
laundry back to mom? Will he?
Depends on how much clothes he has at school. Like I know kids that like actually at college like took all their dirty laundry in a bag and drove it home every weekend, to go back and have mom wash their clothes for them. I don't know, just learn how to wash your damn drawers.
It's not hard. It's not hard. And he's not. He's a little bit younger than the Tide Pod eating generation, so I'm sure he's not eating them.
No,
He's a smart kid.
her kid seems like he's got his shit together a little bit, and I'm sure mom raised him right. She's probably like, look, don't bring your dirty ass underwear
Yeah.
home every weekend for me to wash it. You can take care of your own
Yeah.
skid marks. So
I don't want to see your skin marks.
yeah,
Here you go. White's here, black's here, colored's here, whatever. Learn how to
yeah.
do laundry. I learned to do it and I got through it and it wasn't very difficult. And I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed doing laundry because I liked having clean, fresh clothes on. That smell. There's something about when they come right out of the dryer, Timmy. Remember
Are
putting
you
that
one of
shirt
the
on?
so not
Yeah.
only are you the weirdo that puts his finger in all the cupcakes at the 7-Eleven, you're the one at the laundromat just sitting there smelling his underwear because it smells so good when it comes out of the
Oh,
dryer.
April
All right,
freshness. April.
everyone stay away from John Truncali.
Yeah, if you see me at the laundromat, yeah, don't go anywhere near me. No, I like the smell of fresh clothes, and I like that like in the wintertime where you pull that shirt out of the dryer and you put it on, and it's just nice and scorching hot, and it feels good. There's something about I like laundry.
You know what?
Uh,
It's all fun and games, John, until you take your jeans out of the dryer and you put them on immediately, and that hot button hits your friggin'
yeah, a hot
waistline, and you
501 button.
brand yourself for life. It's all fun and games until that happens.
Yeah, especially back in those days, we I don't know why I'm sharing this information, but we went commando a lot back then in the 80s. And a lot of us in the 80s went commando.
It's
It's not a
easier.
secret. It's not a secret. Everyone knows that one for sure.
Well, if you're like me and you wear stretch jeans, commando is the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no underwear lines. That's really important for guys.
What? There's no point. There's no point. It's just extra.
Yeah, it's just extra stuff. Not well, I want to say not a lot going on out there, but there's enough for us to talk about. There's a few articles that we're going to dig into. Tim has found a few. I found a couple too myself off of Vaping 360 at Mr. McDonald's, and a couple other articles. Actually, an article that our good friend of the show, Charles, Sir Charles Gardner, has posted on his Twitter account. We're going to dig into that one too. But before we do all that, Timmy's going to tell us what kind of week he's having. Timmy.
Well, I'd have to say, all in all, it's been a pretty solid week. I don't know. Did I tell? I did tell you the banner story last week, the
Yeah.
graduation banner, how I had to piece that back. Yeah, when in doubt, duck it.
Yeah.
I did tell you that story.
You
Wow,
MacGyvered it.
I'm starting to feel like maybe things were a bit uneventful. Like this past weekend, I went to a kid's birthday party for a 6-year-old. So
Woo!
that was just a rager. Domino's pizza and kids swimming in a creek. So that was, definitely just, thrills a minute. We had fun
Yeah.
though. It was good to see our friends. It's good to hang out with the adults.
Got a lot of hotties in that
We're
party.
we're the grown-up kids at this point, so there was some adult beverages there, so we did get to
Uh-oh.
enjoy that. It's been pretty much everybody's been pretty cool down at the pool, so I got no complaints there. I don't know. How did I escape this week without some crazy story? I don't know. So
I
yeah.
think it's just graduation. I think and no matter what part of life you are with your kids, this time of the year, everybody's graduating, whether it's a kindergartner all the way up to a senior in college, So every household has somebody graduating from some class to another class. So it's chaos. It's chaos this week.
It is.
It's always been.
Well, I mean, I'm just sort of I'm waiting for the doldrums of summer to set in with some of the teenagers, and idle hands are the devil's work, as my mom used to say. So, I'm waiting for something to go down at the pool, so I have something extravagant to talk about. But so far, everybody's been minding their P's and Q's. Another fob handout on Friday night. So if everybody wants to come hang out from 5 to 7 p.m. on Friday evening, we are handing out pool gate key fobs to the rest of the neighborhood. So it's going to be, if you've ever been to a rave, it's not going to be like that.
Nothing like that.
It'll be nothing like that. Yeah, there's going to be no X flying around, no LED, no glow sticks,
no wheelchair parking accessory.
Yeah, no hula hoops of fire and just a lot of bohemian people, dancing around love and kumbaya. It's gonna be just a bunch of neighbors swinging by picking up key fobs. So
picking up their key pods and then partying like rock stars by the pool.
I guess they're rushing into the pool because they're probably itching to get in there. So now we got them locked out, John. They're locked out.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's the official, that official first day of summer for everybody really that lives in that neighborhood. You giving them those key pods and getting into access to that pool. That's the teacher saying 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, we opened the pool on the 22nd, so they've had a full weekend thus far.
Okay.
So these are the stragglers that couldn't make it on the previous neighborhood function. So we're going to give them one more shot to pick them up because the post pickup process is rather convoluted and difficult.
Yeah.
So, just trying to be look, I try to give back. I try to be fair to everybody. So
I try to give back.
I'm sacrificing my Friday evening for the sake of people who love to use the swimming pool.
Yeah. You got to get yourself one of those Cartman shirts where it says "Respect my authority." So when you go,
I should wear. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I don't really live in a neighborhood that's entirely conducive. Well, actually, I should say if I had one, it would be rather bombastic, just because we have a very small neighborhood. Basically, you got to walk the whole neighborhood twice if you want to put in a mile. And so I thought, at this point, I think I need to graduate to the point where I get a golf cart. I need like the HOA golf cart, and then wear that shirt, that Cartman shirt that says "Respect my authority," and I'll come rolling in on the golf cart, and it'll look like official business.
Add it to the next HOA board meeting.
I am. I'm going to see if I can't. Yeah, I'm going to talk everybody into expensing it against the HOA.
I'm sure you can find one on Facebook Marketplace.
The seats are rotting out, and it needs all new. It needs all new tires. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. As long as it gets you around the block a few times, it's all you need. Chase the kids with it. Get a little broom handle thing there. I had a very uneventful weekend. I don't know if I want to share. I think it's okay to share this stuff.
Yeah.
I have officially quit vaping. So I have been vaping for 13 years. I smoked for over 20 some odd years. And my birthday's coming up. I'm going to be 56 on June 3rd. And I said, I got to try this. I have to try this for myself. To see if I can do this and prove to people out there that this is a way of quitting smoking and eventually working yourself out away from vaping. So my only problem is I had weaned myself down. Tim and I both started with 18 milligrams, or actually we started with the blues, but 18 milligrams is where we started. I weaned myself down to 3 milligrams. Unfortunately, the last 8 months or so, I got hooked on disposables. I was buying disposables, so I was not using my devices. I wasn't vaping 3 milligrams of juice. I was vaping 50s. So it made the transition a little harder. That's what this cough is from. But no fever, nothing. I had a little bit of nicotine withdrawals, some heat flashes. My friend said, I'm PMSing. I said, fuck you. Not PMSing. But no, I've gotten through it. It's been a week now. So something, everyone's like, why? And I was like, well, I had to give it a try. I had to see if this was something I could do to walk away from it. And it hasn't been easy. I have been carrying a pen around when I'm at work because that's the thing, Tim. I still need something in my hand. You know what I mean? I still need to have something in my hand. And I carry a pen around and I just twirl that pen around. I've gotten so good. I could probably be the band master or the one in the front
twirling a drumstick or whatever.
yeah. So no, thank you everyone out there. No, I felt like it was time. It's 13 years of vaping, and I felt like I need to see for myself if this is something I can actually step away from without any issues. And so far so good. No problems whatsoever. Like I said, the only thing is just a little bit of that. I don't need the vapor anymore. I don't need to see it. It's just I need to have something in my hand. So it's either my cell phone. I've been keeping my cell phone in my hand, or my pen, or some stick or something that I can have in my hand. Yeah.
Well, no, they're right here. Birdman got you. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, Birdman got you.
No, that would get me in trouble at work. It would get me really in trouble at work.
And if vapor came out of that, then he's got a problem.
If vapor came out of that, I need to see a specialist. Timmy, you know what time it is?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah, let me get you set up music wise here. There,
I still need to see the vapor, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah,
still need.
It's the vapor. Yeah, I thought for sure I would still, Tim. I would need to see that vapor, but it hasn't been an issue. It's just like I go on my break, and it's a 10-minute break. I'm like, what do you guys do? I asked the guys, I go, what do you guys do on your break? It's like I took my break to vape. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what do you guys do? They all looked at me like I was strange. It's like, I go on my phone, I check my emails, I check Facebook. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. I go outside, I'm on my phone. I go, I gotta have something in my fucking hands. All right, Timmy, here you go, buddy. Yeah. I'm gonna grab a water.
John's gonna go grab a water, and I'm gonna say hello to some kids here in the chat. The ones who are vaping, the ones who still aren't vaping, or the ones that aren't vaping. But why don't we kick it off with, hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wednesday Night Live Show. Yes, we're all vapors, no matter what happens to us going down the road. Congratulations to John on that quit journey. But let's say hello to the wonderful people in the chat. He's drinking Gatorade. Is that good for you, John? Have they outlawed Gatorade yet? Is that still good to drink? I don't know.
Lemon lime.
Parents against Gatorade drinking. Gad, is Gad out there? All right. Hey, all you wonderful people. There is the wonderful Mallory Gates in the house, right at the top of the show. Good to see you, Mallory. How are you? Always good to see you. And we got the wonderful R. Roland Rifleman in the house. Great to see you, brother. How are you? We got Birdman. We got Birdman in the house. You know what? I probably didn't watch enough of that show. I need to understand where Birdman got his nickname from. I'm sure there's a story behind that. So
yes, there is.
Are you a auto? What is that? Are you a auto? Not Audubon. Is it the Audubon Society? The Audubon, AUD.
Audubon.
For watching birds. Are you a bird watcher? Like me. I love to watch the birds. I had all kinds of bird feeders out in my backyard years ago, and I used to have a book. I would go through the book, and whenever I would see a bird I hadn't seen before, you put a star in it. But I'm sure there's an interesting story behind that. Who else we got in here? Scrolling down. Oh, look out. Guess who's in the chat tonight, John? Janine Tight Pants Pasta Boiling Timmons is in the house.
Tight pants.
How are you, Janine? Hey, great to see you. Welcome back to the show. I don't know if you start to cook any more food, we'll just put that on. That'll be more add-ons to the nickname, so don't worry about it. So far we're off to a great start. Great to see Janine. How are you? Who else we got in here? I know we got some other people in here. I just got to get past all the back and forth. Hold on one second. Then we got James, the resident pirate, James R. Blamire in the house. Good to see you, James. How are you? Good morning to you, sir. It's good. You know what? I feel like I go through that duality myself. I sometimes I have to get on meetings and everybody's at a different time zone than me, and I'm like, good morning, and they're like, it's actually good afternoon. So anyway, I know how that feels. So it's evening for us, morning for you. Good to see you, James. How are you? Kiki, great to see you. How are you? Welcome back to the show. How are you, dear? I hope you're doing well. We got Michael Redfern in the house. Great to see you, Michael. How are you, sir? Who else? We got Don Shirako Ayako in the house. Yes, I do have to apologize. Everybody, like, they find out that I'm on the HOA, and then they probably do one of those, oh, he's on the HOA. Anybody who lives in an HOA always has some stories to talk about with the HOA. Trust me, I'm not that HOA. I'm the other HOA. I'm the nice HOA. I'm like the helpful HOA. With the HOA that's the meanies.
You're choppy, Tim.
Am I choppy?
Yeah.
Still choppy?
I'm not sure. There you go. You're back. You're back.
I restarted my computer. Hold on. Maybe I got something running that's causing it to spin or something like that.
It could be.
Robbing my bandwidth here. I don't know. I got a million things in my house that are Wi-Fi, John. So
yeah, I know. Me too. Yeah.
Exactly. Who else we got in here? But anyway, I'm on the nice part of the HOA. I'm not on the mean part of the HOA. I'm not the management team that sends out the violations and is the bad guy. I'm the nice one. I'm the one you can actually knock on your door.
Not yet.
I'll help you out. Yeah. I don't care what color your fucking curtains are. I really don't give a shit. Who else we got in here? We got Peggy at E6 Source. How are you, Peggy? Great to see you. Wonderful. Always wonderful to see you. Who else we got in here? I'm scrolling. And we got Michelle Elliott in the house. Great to see you, Michelle. How are you? Thanks for coming back. We got the great Steve Tottenham in the house. All these wonderful people. I love it when like our family comes back to see us every week. It's friggin' wonderful. We got Chris Hanghofer. Did I say that correct? I always try to get the names right here. So if I didn't say your name, your is it Hanghofer or Hanghofer? I don't know. It depends on what country you're from. Probably the way you say your vowels. It's all good. Yeah. Good to see you, Chris. Thank you for being on the show. Good. Thanks for joining us. Good. Who else we got in here? Hold on. I'm still going. John, people are talking. I got to keep up with all the people that are chit-chatting. That's it for right now. That's it. We got 12 watching. So, hey, chime in. Join the conversation. We always have stuff to talk about.
We always do. And yes, I was aware that tomorrow is a World Vape Day. I don't, this is the first year. Like maybe I haven't seen anything, but this is like the first year I don't see any build up to it. It's in past prior years, there's always been some sort of build up, a meeting, not a convention, but some sort of what do you call it, protest or whatever. But yeah, nothing really going on. I mean, I haven't seen anything. Have you? Tell me.
No, it's been rather quiet. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I feel like we live with that duality where, like, we should be loud and proud, but maybe keeping a low profile isn't such a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, but if it's World Vape Day, fantastic. I'll be vaping. I'll be supporting. Yeah. I'll be advocating. I'll be doing all the same stuff I'm doing. So nothing's changed here.
Yeah. Usually there's some sort of build up to it, or protest or a meeting or some sort of. What anyone remember?
Yes, right, I watched Romper Room with the magic mirror, and she's. I see Bobby and Jimmy and Tommy and Susie. Yes, Romper Room. Yes.
Oh,
and man, Zoom, Janine, do you remember the show Zoom? Do a Zoom do a Zoom do. You remember that one? Anyway,
no,
sorry,
I don't remember that one. I remember Sesame Street. I remember the PBS special shows that used to come on. Mr. Rogers. That's it.
Yeah, well, here, let me tell a really cute mom story for everybody. So when we were little kids, and you know how when you were little and your parents would throw you in the car and take you on some unguided trip that you had no idea where you were going, but you knew that it was going to be somewhere like see antiques or some shit, because we were too young to enjoy that kind of stuff, but we were too young to be left alone to our own devices. So we get in the car, and my mom, and we would always bug my mom And so it would start out where, like, my brother, like in this chant format, we would start chanting McDonald's, Geno's, Burger King, McDonald's, Geno's, because we wanted my parents to stop and get us food. Anyway, they never stopped to get us food. So, but the further we get down the road, we'd say, "Hey, Mom, how much longer until we get there?" And you know how my mom would help us increment our time? She would say, "We're going to get there in 2 Sesame Streets and an electric company." So in our minds, we would try to pretend how long it would take us to watch that show. So that's how long. So she meant like an hour and a half.
She made you think about it. So it's like, hey, that shows an hour or that shows half hour. Yeah, that's a good mom, though. It's good.
Exactly.
Made you think.
Don't cry. Don't cry, everybody.
Don't cry.
Did she make me think of what?
Or she could have said, "Don't make your father stop this car."
No, she could have said that. Well, if we started to fight, that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, the boys, my mom, probably like your mom. She had to, you and your brother, but my mom had the 3 of us. So, and there's 3 boys, and we loved the 3 Stooges. So you can imagine how we acted when we were in the car or any other part of the day. And as we got older, we went from 3 Stooges to Bruce Lee. So anytime we saw a karate movie, we became Bruce Lee. So, and we would do all this stuff to each other to see if we could be, like Bruce Lee, and it would drive my dad nuts. So my dad officially stopped taking us to karate movies in the 80s. He said, "That's it. No more karate. You guys want to go to see a karate movie? You find a way to get in there, because I'm not taking you." Because we would just be sitting there. My brother would be bleeding. My fucking no.
Stop it.
Stop,
I'm gonna attack you.
Yeah.
No, you gotta over talk. You gotta have more words in your mouth than what you.
Yeah. So May 30th to 2024 is keep that in mind. I think this is a good. I think this is a good day. Tomorrow's a good day to spread the word through your social media, through your Facebook pages, and pages that you usually excuse me. You usually don't talk about. Sorry, it's going to be like that this whole show, guys. They usually don't talk about vaping, so I think this is a perfect opportunity to share something like International Vape Day. So spread those good articles, those good stories. And
I think that's, I mean, maybe it's a good chance for us to tell our story a little bit and talk about it. I mean, I think it would be nice if maybe we could drown out some of the other noise on the social media platforms, and get back to, the subjects at hand and the things that are important to us. Because I think a lot of that's been lost in the shuffle of world events. So we need our world event to be back on point again.
Yeah, I think it's we've always said it, but since day one, your story is very important. So, tomorrow's a good day to share your story. I think more people need to hear their stories, and to hear people that have been smoking for 20-25 years, 2 packs a day, that have easily quit using this simple device that we all have been using, and be able to walk away from 4,000 killing chemicals in a cigarette. I think is important. So, share your story, share a little bit of your story tomorrow on your social media, and or share even at work. I mean, well, just be careful. Work environments are different. Everybody's work environment is different. I don't think you're going to get sent to HR because you shared your story of how you quit smoking by vaping, right?
No, not at all. No, just don't talk to your insurance company.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell HR, because if HR finds out, then they'd be like, "You didn't put down that you were a smoker on your HR on your health policy." Well, it's because I'm not smoking. I'm not smoking. So quit lumping us into the same category.
Well, yeah, I think they've added the word vape now, though. I think it's in there.
It's like when you get the pitch, they're like, if you smoke or vape, then they tell you about these programs that are available, and and then obviously if you say you vape, then your policy amount goes up because you immediately become a risk, right? So your premium changes and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm not telling them that.
Yeah. It's none of your damn business what I
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't ask,
Yeah.
do you smoke pot? Nobody asked that question.
Yeah, really. I mean, I mean, it may not have 4,000 chemicals in it, but I mean, it is combustible.
It is
It is going
combustible.
to your lungs. And
You
trust me,
can burn your house down because you're smoking it.
no, but I'm just saying, like, why don't we all just say we breathe in carbon monoxide and pollution from
Yeah.
outside? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Why don't
Yeah.
we just all say that, and then our premiums can go up?
Yeah. I agree with you. All right, Timmy, what do you got? What you got?
Well, we
What you got
have
here?
several. I think it would be prudent to start with a little bit of kind of what's going on in the atmosphere, with all of these PMTA registry bills and all this other stuff flying around. So let's talk about an Ohio judge who had a ruling here pretty recently. So let me
Mm-hmm.
share screen. Now I gotta find it. Okay, they always technology. They always have to make everything so much more complicated than it really
Yeah.
has to be. But I agree, Janine. I think that's a great approach to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is not to really kind of argue and fight and
Right.
battle the ants. That happens every day. That'll be there the next day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important if we kind of flood the X channels with our vape stories and all that, and then just have Turk friggin' crying the blues because we're all part of big tobacco. We're just all industry people anyway. So this article, aptly named "Ohio Judge Rules State Preemption Law Unconstitutional."
Get out.
Exactly. So, an Ohio judge has invalidated a state law that would have prevented cities from passing flavored vape bans and other restrictions on nicotine and tobacco products harsher than the states. Well, we've seen articles like this before. We've
Yeah.
seen rulings like this before, where they don't, they restrict the municipalities from sort of being kind of hodgepodge and making up their own laws that are stronger than the state laws.
Yeah.
But it can't. I think that's flaky when they do that stuff. Ruling on a lawsuit filed against the state by 21 Ohio municipalities, Franklin County Common Pleas Court Judge Mark Surratt said that the law violates the city's home rule powers, which are guaranteed by the state constitution. Last month, Judge Surratt granted a temporary restraining order blocking the state law from taking effect as scheduled on April 23rd. The court decision, announced May 17th, allows the flavor ban passed by the city of Columbus to remain in effect and leaves vape and tobacco restrictions passed by Toledo and some smaller cities intact. It also opens the door for Cleveland to pursue a flavor ban promised by Mayor Justin Bibb. However, the decision only applies to the municipalities that joined the lawsuit filed by Columbus City Attorney Zach Klein. Unless other courts modify Judge Surratt's decision, all other Ohio cities would be bound by the preemption law and unable to pass laws stricter than the states. And so, I mean,
That makes sense.
I don't.
Though.
It does make a lot of sense, but I mean, in that regard, I don't know how close some of these cities are from each other. But in that particular regard, I mean, it's not that hard for if you're if you have a neighboring city that still doesn't have any particular laws, people are just going to go there. So, I'm not saying that, but I do think that if the state passes a particular law stating, like either not having any kind of particular law in general, not banning anything, I think that it would be unconstitutional for the municipalities to say, well, we're banning it in Sandusky, but we're not. But in Cleveland, you can just go to Cleveland and get it wherever you want to.
You just walk over the county line and boop, you're in Cleveland.
So, but my other question to this is, I mean, I'm not really entirely sure of exactly what the Ohio state law is. But does this preclude these people from being able to go ahead and order online and bring it into the state that way? Is it this they can't buy it?
Yeah, I didn't see any in that article about online, and that seems to be the issue with a lot of these laws that are going through, and like California realizing, hey, we're losing money, and then 6 months later, after they pass the bill, decide, well, we're going to tax it now. So yeah, I'm sure. To me, it doesn't make any sense. That when you're going to ban the flavor in a state, and you know that you can still have the internet, you could still purchase stuff through the internet and still have it shipped into your city and your state, and you're not already thinking ahead of the game, but you wait 6 months, 8 months, and realize, oh shit, we're losing revenue, we need to make that revenue back up, let's tax it now. And to me, that it doesn't make any damn sense. So
Yep. No, I just think that's kind of flaky when the municipalities can have more power
yeah,
than, say, the presiding state. I think that should be whatever decisions are made. I think they should be made at the state level
up
if they're
front.
going to do anything. Yeah, just blanket it across the state and say here's what the deal is. Of
Well,
course,
yeah.
I don't want to ban or anything like that, but
Yeah, well, you know what happens. We talk about this all the time on the show. They'll get that bill put up there up front. The first draft of it. Let's call it that. The first draft of it gets thrown up there, and then we know what happens. This guy, we can't do this. We can do that. And then by the time you know it, and by the time it gets said and done, I should say, is that initial first bill is completely written absolutely different than the first one was. So and a lot of
sure.
times people don't get what they want and they figure, hey, we could do this later down the road, and that's what I think is happening here.
Yeah, well, that's a good. I mean, you bring up a good point, Birdman. Well, then, like, just ban flavored alcohol too. I mean, has anyone
Yeah,
ever heard of a? Well, I mean, it's probably. I mean, I thought that most liquor stores in the U.S. were state controlled anyway. I thought that was.
yeah,
I mean, at least I know in Virginia, they
yeah,
were state controlled distribution locations. The ABC stores. That's what
yeah,
they
yeah.
were here. I know some states sell liquor in the grocery stores and stuff like that, but that would be crazy if like alcohol was banned in one city and then the next city over it's not or anything like that. That would probably cause a major outrage.
Road trip,
Um,
road trip.
yeah, who's buying?
Yeah,
So in addition to Columbus, the co-plaintiffs in the lawsuit were Athens, Barberton, Bexley, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dublin, Ghana. Wow. There's a city in Ohio named after not the country. Well, Ghana is in Africa.
yeah,
Ghana,
Africa.
Accra, the city Accra, Ghana.
Mm,
Grandview Heights, Heath, Hillard, Kent, North Ridgeville, Oberlin, Oxford, Reynoldsburg, Springfield, Upper Arlington, Toledo, Whitehall, and Worthington, according to UPI. The state will appeal Judge Surratt's decision to the Ohio 10th District Court of Appeals, according to the Columbus Dispatch. The law preempting local vape and tobacco restrictions passed the Ohio General Assembly in last year's budget bill. Governor Mike DeWine used his line item veto power to remove the preemption language from the bill in January, but both houses of the legislature quickly voted to override the veto. 5 states, California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island, have flavored vape bans currently in effect. Utah passed a flavor ban in March that will become effective next January. Several major cities have passed flavor bans, including Chicago and Boulder. So is Ohio effectively a flavor ban state?
As far as the federal law, I'm assuming, yeah. But I think,
Uh, it,
but
it
I
just
think,
talks about the cities, but
yeah. Well, the cities are trying to pass laws more stricter than what the federal law was passed on, or what everyone voted on, I should say. And now the cities, that's what, from what I understand, is I understand that a law was passed, a flavor ban law was passed in that state of Ohio. So I'm not sure exactly what that law detailed as far as what flavors were banned or what milligrams or whatever. I'm not sure, but it sounds like each state is trying to make a stricter law banning it even more. So I'm assuming there are still flavors available, Tim, which is bringing up this fight to try to
right.
make
So
it
the,
more.
the
Yeah,
state must not have taken it far enough for some of the
yeah,
cities to be comfortable with. And yes, Birdman, I think aren't places that certain. I don't know if it's all of Alaska, but I think there are certain places in Alaska that are dry counties as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
I think there are. So there have been some things like that. But yeah, I just don't agree that the municipalities can go ahead and enact further restrictions that go beyond the state's governing rule. So, I just think that that's kind of nitpicky and a little disingenuous, at least from my perspective. So we'll see what happens. So I mean, obviously it's going to be under appeal. You've already got a bunch of cities and towns that probably have harsher laws and restrictions. But I don't know where those are in relationship. I lived in Ohio for 5 years. I lived in Sandusky. Yes, my dad worked for Cedar Point Amusement Park.
Oh shit.
Yep. All right, so that was that. So I guess that's something to pay attention on. And I promise before the end of the show, I will head on over to CASA and we'll take a look and see what's on their board. But I thought this one was a kind of a cool story. I mean, if we're talking about National Vape Day, there's a nice blog that was put out by Harry Shapiro. And being that we're on the eve of National Vape Day or International Vape Day, we can also talk about Han Lick, the creator of the vape device, the reason why we're all here in the first place. So I thought this was rather interesting. It will be 23 years now since Han Lick has developed the device. And guess what, kids? We don't have a death on our hands. We don't.
No, zero.
We don't have a death. We actually have people using vaping to quit everything, to quit smoking. We have our champion on the show right now. Here's another individual who has used vaping to get away from smoking, and now he's walking away from vaping. So all right, hold on. Let me. I think I have to do the most cumbersome thing ever. I have to quit one screen. I can't just switch to the other.
Yeah.
It would be really, really, really cool. So this is more of an opinion piece. It's stuff that everybody here pretty much already knows. So I don't think that we're going to learn too much anything new, but I think it was just a nice article to read. So this is from Henry Shapiro, NSP. It was 23 years ago today. Han Lick showed a brand new way. So yes, it has been a while since the last blog, but the main reason is the need to push on with the next global state of tobacco harm reduction report due out in November. This report will be a status report analyzing just how far we have come to embed tobacco harm reduction in the international health discourse alongside drug and HIV harm reduction. We maintain that access to safer nicotine products to protect health is a basic human right derived from the original WHO Declaration on the Universal Right to Health, and from a standing start in 2004, progress along the THR journey has been encouraging. So I still have to talk about the irony and a lot of these so-called medical experts is just that, how they were so much behind vaping at one point. Like they saw the light like we saw the light. And you can find the tweets from them. You can find their statements all over the place. It's just shocking to me that, we basically thought that we were going to, I wouldn't say that we found the promised land, but when you feel encouraged enough to know that a guy who wanted to quit smoking invented a device that was 95% safer and to help him quit smoking. Shouldn't that be the primary goal in all of this? It's not because of just an NRT. It's not just because of a quitting cold turkey approach. I think the answer is the more alternatives you have available to you to help you quit smoking.
Exactly.
That's what we're looking for. So to see all these medical or these official health organizations who propped it up and encouraged people to use it, and now they're coming back. John, are you clipping your nails? Are you
I had to. I had one that was bothering me. I'm OCD about that.
Okay, with your nails. With apologies to Lennon and McCartney, it was just 2 decades ago this year that the first commercially viable vapes became available in China, thanks to the pioneering work of Honlick trying to find a way to stop smoking himself, and in light of his father's death from lung cancer. So that's, I mean, that's really sort of the cause, the journey. That's the one thing that stands true, is that he created it for all of the
Right.
right reasons,
Right.
with every best intention in mind. And then, but that his story is so it resonates so strong in a lot of each other's stories. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? It's like we like, maybe not me specifically. I mean, obviously for me, it was to get off of smoking and then to pass that information along and help someone else
Yeah.
who was looking to quit smoking. But so many others, people, plenty of people here in the chat, people who watch the show week in and week out, had family members who were smokers, mothers and fathers who were smokers for decades and decades and decades. And so, everybody perpetuated this discovery in the name of improving things for themselves, not only for themselves, but for their family members alike, and to keep people around. Like, nobody wants to lose their mom and dad,
Right.
especially if it's at the hands of smoking or something like that. So,
Yeah.
it's just, it resonates so strong. It says, since then, the global consumer population has grown to over 120 million users. It is likely, with the possible exception of North Korea, that at least one SNP is to be found in every country in the world. Unfortunately, the generally hostile regulatory environment in which SNP operate means that much of the product will be illegal. That illegality might derive from outright bans, illegal smuggling to avoid import taxes, or simply unsafe products. This, of course, is the result of banning a much in-demand product. Product development has happened at a pace, much of it derived from consumer demands. Indeed, in the very early days, a handful of consumers were designing products of their own to compensate for the unsatisfactory nature of the original cigalikes. Many of those ideas were taken up by the burgeoning vape industry. I mean, we could go back and talk about this for hours and hours and hours. Just
Yeah.
all of the innovation that we saw. I mean, the
Crazy.
the development that we were the beneficiaries of, because again, that's what the journey is all about, right? It's about having variety. It's about having different options that suit you
Yep.
and whatever it
Yep.
is that you require at the time. So yeah, I think a lot of us struggle with the cigalikes. I think
Mhm.
at that point in time, I think we were all expected to have a lot more willpower on board
Mhm.
using the cigalikes, because they didn't. I mean, unless you were like, I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna use this and I'm not gonna touch cigarettes ever again, and you finally decided to just at least extinguish that for the last time. People probably struggled with the cigalikes at first. They didn't have the same nick content.
Right.
Maybe the experience wasn't the same. But I know I was dual using for a little while through that time frame. I know I struggle with the cigalikes. How about you, John?
Yeah, I did. But maybe for like the first week, I was one of those that just I quit. That was it. I was like, I put the pack of cigarettes down and I went right to that blue. And I think maybe once a week in, I took a couple drags out of a cigarette and I was like, okay, no, I can't do this both, and never touched it again. So I don't know, man. I for me it was just a little bit different. I was just like, it worked and I felt comfortable. I felt like it was taking care of that edge. And did I smoke or vape the shit out of those cigarettes? Yeah, I mean, I was in the truck for 15 hours a day, so I made sure I had plenty of fucking spares, and I was good to go for the whole, because it was sometimes I'd be in, I hate saying the word bumfucked Egypt, but not Egypt. It's somewhere in the middle of the United States where Cigulite, what the hell's that? So yeah, so I made sure I always had. Well, I did the same thing with cigarettes, but yeah, no, I was
Well,
one of those guys that just quit. That was it.
yeah, I mean, I mean, I picked it up because a guy where I worked bought it
Yeah.
to quit smoking. He was getting ready to get married. He was getting ready to have kids. he wanted to try to put that behind him and live a healthier life. And then his came in and he got the blue kit. And then I saw it and I put a little research in it. But I would have to say, I think the things that I struggle with most, and Michelle, I'm in the same camp as you with the Sigalites. They just they weren't doing it for me. They were the blue was kind of heavy. You know, like if you just wanted it to like hang in your mouth or something like that, it was like really awkward and heavy. And I think that there was a lot of stigma at that time. So Anthony said, I started vaping 5 years after he quit smoking. Well, good. I mean, but at least you went to that. You know what I mean? Like it's so easy for an ex-smoker to go right back to cigarettes, like when stress hits or just, you need something to fill the gap. But I think there was a lot of stigma around the cigalikes at that time. And I've mentioned this before in previous shows, is that, it was something that I bought that I used at the office. That was probably the biggest benefit from it, is I was in my office using it. Because, then we were like, oh, it's just water vapor. But like, like I would not, I was very reluctant to take it to the bar. I mean, not because I didn't want to use it, but we kind of got picked on a little bit, because I think it was more kind of, well, at least the impression is that it was something, that a girl would use.
It was mostly the older generation, the older smoker that was giving us shit. I remember that. I was like, what is that?
Oh, of course.
Be a man, smoke a cigarette.
Like, what's that thing with the light on it? Like, what's that sissy thing you got in your mouth? But I mean, but I think that the intent was genuine. But I was extremely excited. Like I started using it at first, and then it just seemed like not that long after it, I was like looking to see what other products or other things were available, because we had the internet, we had the ability to shop. So it wasn't long before I transitioned from the blue to the V2 kit. So V2 had like a kit that was out that was similar to a Cigalite, but it had a little mini card on it, a little plastic card on that you could fill up. It had screw-in ones as well. I remember when I stumbled onto Halo. Halo wasn't far behind that. They had the Ego twist pens, like the ones that you could adjust a little bit and charge. So I, and like Janine pointed out, it's never been a one size fits all transition. I mean, the key to success is finding the device or the application that works best for you.
It's your lifestyle.
Exactly. Because I think I was more prone to falling back to cigarettes in my personal experience, just because I'm like, that was my hope. My brain said, hey, I'm going to pick this thing up and I'm going to enjoy it 10 times more than I enjoy smoking a cigarette, all the while knowing that that it's better for me to use this than it is to continue to smoke. So my mind was made up. I knew that I wanted to do it. It's just that I struggled with, the blue really being the silver bullet.
Right.
So, there's that. The Science 2 also has built up beyond a critical mass of evidence, showing unequivocally that relative to traditional tobacco products, all SNP, be they vapes, heated tobacco products are safer. Oral products such as snus and nicotine patches are significantly safer and do offer an exit ramp to smoking. Despite a constant stream of value-laden pronouncements from the WHO and others for countries just to implement outright bans and SNP, there are still only a handful of countries who have heeded this call. Some countries have reversed previous prohibitionist policies, and others are considering similar. It is no coincidence that Norway, Japan, and Sweden, countries with proportionate SNP regulations, are also those countries projected to be the first countries to reach the smoke-free target of adult smoking prevalence down to 5% or less. And I think that's relevant. I guess big difference in some of those countries is just the nature of the the nature of the health systems. I'm sure that they would want to be smoke-free, just because they know that, it means better health for the population in general. I just don't know that I can believe the general honesty of big tobacco being in the back pockets of the legislators of our country. I
Yeah.
think that they, and I don't know, do you really think that we'll see a day when we'll actually experience lower nicotine content cigarettes? Do you think that we will see the day if
Well,
they
we had
actually
lower
retail?
nicotine content cigarettes. Didn't they try to push that a few years ago?
Yeah, but I'm talking about like across the board. Like,
Oh,
are they gonna keep the heavy hitters still on the shelf, or you think that we'll see a broad based change in the combustible market where though everything will be federally regulated to only
yeah,
contain a certain
yeah.
amount of nicotine in it?
I don't know, man. I can't. Maybe it's just me, but I can't picture a world without cigarettes. I just don't see it. I don't care how hard they push it or how much they tell people it's bad for them or raise the price to where it's so expensive that you're choosing not to feed your I think I mean am I the only one that feels that way? But I don't see a world in my time. I don't see that ever. I don't see a world without cigarettes in it.
I mean, I just feel like the use of combustible products, I think that it's just so ingrained into the culture. Now, if
Yeah,
if 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 society deems it to be something that they want to walk away from, because everybody sort of has this epiphany about it, I agree
mm,
with you, John. I don't think we'd ever see a day when cigarettes are
yeah,
just completely gone,
yeah.
despite all of the talk about, you know,
Yeah. The
removing
precautions.
it. Well, going to a smoke-free
Yeah,
society in general terms. I mean, I just think that you've got too many people who, I think they deserve the right to make a choice for themselves, whether
yeah,
it's an unhealthy one at that. I
yeah.
do believe that they reserve the right to decide whether or not they want to smoke. I mean, they're saying 5% or less, so that kind of really sort of says the right there that cigarettes aren't going to be completely gone.
No.
I mean, I don't know. Like, we don't see a lot of people here in the States roll their own. I
Mm,
just don't think that. I think there's too much money at stake. I think there's too much. Um,
yeah.
what does big tobacco do with itself if we ever become a smoke-free society? I mean, can you see the
Well, that's
monolithic
why they
companies
started
like?
buying up all these other companies. That's why they started buying up food companies and supermarket chains and
Well, that's true too, but what I'm saying is like there's no transition for them, right? So if they could at some point remove cigarettes from the marketplace,
yeah,
what does big tobacco do with themselves at that point? Because I mean, at this point, they've only got a handful of products left that they can put on the shelf that are
yeah,
you know, smoke free in general terms, or at least vaping devices that are out there, because they're not things people typically want. But I guess if that's your only option, I would expect to see, I think I would see big tobacco make a big shift and try to find a way to put a shitload of money up to, if you say if you're going to get rid of cigarettes, well then at least let us keep vaping. You know what I mean?
yeah. Or come up with some sort of cigarette they feel is better than what was out there. I mean, yeah. Hey, advancements in science and technology doesn't just stop at vaping. I mean, it goes into cigarettes too. I mean, if they really wanted to innovate cigarettes, I'm sure they could come up with something that's a little more healthier or safer than dry leaf tobacco. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're not stupid people. I mean, I think innovation
No.
doesn't just stop in certain industries.
But
They have,
didn't we see some of those products come out in the last few years where they were
yeah,
like this, it wasn't derived from tobacco, these
right.
tobacco-free cigarettes and things of that nature. I got to feel like there would be other alternatives that would come down the
Yeah.
line.
Well, how much of those products did we really give a chance to, being that we already had vaping and seeing that that's the problem. I think I'm not sticking up for big tobacco, but I think that's the problem they have. They have an image that has been set in stone for the last 100+ years. So for them to be able to come out with a product that, let's just say, is safer, how many people are actually going to believe them? That is the other problem that they have. And uh, I think that's one of the things that hurts them. And like we talked about it before in the early days of vaping, one of the questions that used to come up a lot was, do you trust big tobacco to be part of vaping? And back then, a majority of us said, absolutely not. There's no way we want them buying e-liquid companies, and there's no way we want them being involved in the manufacturing of devices as well. But yet, I think if you were to ask that question today, I think you're more at 50-50. If it was an
Yeah.
opportunity to keep vaping alive by letting them get in board with us and actually getting in bed with the FDA. I think, I mean, there's not much they can change with the formula with the e-liquid. There's not much they can do different that we already don't know about. There's no chemicals they could add or not add that we don't know about. So I think the chemical basis of each formula for vaping an e-liquid is the same no matter where you look at it. It might be a few milligrams or doses different for flavoring, but I mean, that's the problem. I mean, do they have, maybe they did have something that was better and we just kind of blew it off because, our grandfathers and great grandfathers died from being 2 packs a day smokers. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, what I was going to say is, I mean, I'd have to agree that I think there's probably a few more people that would, fall into the camp of saying, would we want to big tobacco to become more prevalent in the vaping space? I mean,
Yeah,
out of, I think immediately we don't want them involved just because it kind of tarnishes the honest nature of vaping.
right.
Because it wasn't designed for big tobacco to have their filthy mitts on it. To Anthony's question, isn't there a dry tobacco vaporizer? Are you talking about heat not burn devices?
Yeah, heat not burn.
I mean, if we're talking about like IQOS and stuff like
Right.
that, I mean that I think that would be the closest thing you'd get to over the counter. Although you can't get it here in the States.
Yeah,
I know it got real big in Japan, but those were like those little tobacco sticks. They kind of look like the
yeah,
butt end of a cigarette or the
yeah,
tip end of a cigarette, and then you stick it in this device, and they claim that it's supposed to be better for you by vaporizing this heat not burn
yeah,
device. But I don't know. I don't see it being that
yeah.
far off from aside the fact that it's not combusting.
Yeah,
It's
it seems
still
like, yeah,
it's
big
still
tobacco just seems like they got to keep that leaf around. They got to keep the leaf around. So no matter what transition or whatever type of innovation they come up with, they still need to make sure the leaf is part of it. It's like it cannot be in a liquid form for them. You know what I mean? Doesn't it seem like that? Let's keep the leaf, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I mean maybe that's just sort of their legacy,
Yeah,
because tobacco's I mean tobacco alone is a tremendously huge commodity product,
yeah,
and for a
yeah,
lot of different reasons. Because I mean, think about it. Even if cigarettes were undesirable by people, there are still a lot of people in certain segments of society that enjoy a pipe or
yeah,
enjoy a cigar. I mean, how are you going to convince, a bunch of, stuffy rich guys out on the golf course that they can't have their stogie, I mean, do people still hand out cigars when they say it's a boy or it's a girl, I mean, I think people have a right to decide whatever it is
yeah,
they want to engage in. And I do think that there's some relevancy there as long as it's not harming someone else, you know, um,
yeah,
or at least people that don't want it there or whatever. I think you have to respect that. But I just feel like as an adult, you have a right as a human
mhm,
being to make a
mhm,
choice for yourself, even if you know the risks involved. That's your personal choice.
yeah,
If people want to argue, well, it's people continue to smoke, it's going to cost this much, in the healthcare industry to take care of these people and all this other stuff. I mean, there are people out there that do a lot worse stuff
yeah,
than that anyway. So, um, but anyway, my dad smoked a pipe for years and years and years and years and years. I mean, he
yeah,
had a little stand in the TV room. He had 4 or
mhm,
5 pipes sitting in the and he worked for a tobacco distribution company for several years. Like he was like a field sales guy, like a rep, kind of like the
Yeah.
Coca-Cola guy or the
Yeah.
Wonder Bread guy in the grocery store. He had a route, and he would go around to different smoke shops and cigar shops and tobacco shops and things like that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
Janine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, obviously, there's more involved with a
Yeah.
cigarette. It can't just be about the nicotine. That's the draw. You know what I mean? I think once a lot of us switched over from smoking to vaping, I mean,
Mhm.
I've been able to find that I can go a lot longer time frames, a lot more comfortable in between. Um, you know,
Yeah. Puffs.
not
Yeah.
not yeah, not having it or not picking it up or whatever, but then, while I'm at work or doing it or I'm on the show, I'm picking
Yeah.
it up. But like for me, it's just sort of a relaxing social thing, more or less. I don't know. I kind of not ready to get rid of my nicotine yet. But cigarettes, it
Yeah.
seemed like we were more of a fiend for those. I don't know. Or am I wrong in that
I
assumption? I
think it
feel
was
like
more of the ritual with cigarettes. It's like, I don't know. Even when you're at work, it was like it was that group that you hung out with, you know. And you were out there with smoking your cigarettes, you know what I mean? And then when you're at the bar, it's that ritual again. You're with that group that's all together drinking and smoking cigarettes, and at the concert drinking, smoking cigarettes. It's just you get up in the morning, that cup of coffee and that cigarette,
yeah, yeah,
after that big fucking meal, that cup of
yeah,
coffee and that cigarette.
yeah,
It's just more of a, I think that's what makes it more harder for someone to quit smoking. It's just you have made it such a big part of your life. Everything that you don't realize it until you try to quit, that how much of that it controlled your life, and when you decided to smoke and when you didn't smoke. And thank God we actually slept for 5 to 6 hours a day, and we weren't smoking. But I mean, other than that, I mean, we were constantly thinking about when we can get to our next cigarette. I mean, that's how I
yeah.
was.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, just kind of gauging it and like, but there were times when, my smoke, I would smoke more or smoke less depending on particular situation. But I compared to vaping, I just sort of feel like when I was smoking, I was more of a fiend for a cigarette. When it comes to vaping, I feel like it's just more of like something to fill the gap, to take the edge off, when I'm stressed out or when I'm focused on something. Sometimes it just kind of helps me pull back my clarity and focus a little bit.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
I feel like it kind of takes the edge off, and okay, I can keep moving forward. But yeah, I don't know. It's just
mm,
kind of weird how that all kind of worked.
yeah. The
Where was I? What?
smoking part for me was harder, Don. The vaping part, quitting now vaping, like I said in the beginning of the show, is just not having something in my hand. Like I'm now watching Tim with something in his hand. I feel like I need something in my hand. And I constantly do, like I've been holding this little ball of fucking paper in my hand, but that's how I am. That's the
All right,
tough
everybody,
part for
for
me.
Christmas, everybody send John a spinner device,
No,
a,
no,
fi- a
no.
fidget device. Everybody send him a fidget
No,
device.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. So I should be good here within the
Good.
next couple of days. Yeah.
Good. At this year's, well, and just think about the not so bad side of this, John,
Yeah.
because if the going gets rough and the stress starts to hit you, look at what you get to fall back on.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
like
why. Yeah.
you're not gonna run out and go buy a pack of smokes. You're
Yeah.
gonna run
Yeah.
off down to the corner store and get you a
Right.
disposable.
Yeah. And the first thing I did, honest to God, when I made that decision, before I even started to quit, I made sure that it was out of sight, out of mind. And I made sure every device that I had was not in quick hand reach, and it
Yeah,
wasn't visible to me. I cleared my car out of devices. I was surprised how many how many fucking disposables I had in my car. But I had one in the glove box. I had one in the fucking that side compartment. I had one in my little armrest compartment. So I just went through all that. I took all that stuff away because I knew I needed to make sure it wasn't around me where I see it and I
yeah.
can easily grab it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely, Michelle. I think for me, I identify with you big time on that one. I mean, work gets stressful for me at times. There's times when I have to put a lot of really kind of focused research into things, like because part of my job as a systems analyst, people call me and go, can you tell me what went wrong here? And and then you got to try to like put the pieces together,
Yeah.
and then you get into these change logs and stuff that are part of the system catalog of logging all of people's actions and what happens in an order, and what activity took place. And I just feel like if I don't have this here, like if I just had to drone and stare at the screen, I would be about as proficient in reading a book. Like I cannot read. I'm the worst reader on the planet. Sorry, I was trying to find a this there's this game that I play when I vape too, but that it helps me focus. Come on, get out of there. Thank you. It was playing the stupid music. But yeah, for me, I feel like it's there to like kind of recenter me a little bit. It like just one little filler hit or something like that can just
Mm.
help me kind of like just narrow, just focus right in and dive in, and then not be so just sort of washed out from looking at lines and lines and lines of data and logs and things of that nature. And then I play this game I think it's called like Magic Match or something, where like it's like a pile of stuff, and then
Yeah.
you have so much time to find certain things, and you have to find, in order to clear the board, you got to get 3 of each thing, and you're like, and it's like a speed thing and a focus thing. And like after every puzzle that I finish, I take a hit,
Yeah.
and then it like prepares me for the next thing. So yeah, I don't know, you hear people say that, oh, it causes depression, or it causes anxiety. I think it's exactly the opposite. I think when I experience anxiety or stress, or I feel a little just, flustered or whatever, it seems to just sort of bring it all back, and I get to focus in on that. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think it has a benefit in that regard. But we've seen, there's been medical studies and stuff, how nicotine therapy is used for memory retention, especially people who are experiencing early signs of Alzheimer's, and even people who are getting older and starting to go through those phases in their life where like short-term memory starts to go, memory
Mm.
retention is starting to fall away. The nicotine receptors in your brain they seem to have some effect on you being able to at least have a
Yeah.
balance in your life.
Yeah.
So I never did suggest it to my parents. Like my dad, I know my mom has been struggling with it a little bit. And I know that they have her on medications for it. And I really thought long and hard about maybe giving that pitch to my dad. But hey, why don't you look into these studies
Yeah.
and see if maybe something like that can't help mom? But I just kind of feel like there's some stigma around it. Like, oh, that wouldn't be, something that they would be on board with. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe I'll get to that point. We'll see. Where was I? Okay. At this year's meeting of the Conference of the Parties, COP, to the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, for the first time, some parties challenged the WHO's persistent refusal to engage in debate about harm reduction, let alone began to integrate THR in tobacco control policies. But as I say, this latest GSTHR is a status report on THR, and huge challenges remain towards achieving the promise of millions of lives potentially improved and saved by a universally pragmatic response to SNP. The challenges are multifaceted. Many governments rely on our income for growing and exporting tobacco, and or from various domestic taxes levied on smoking. Some countries have a long tradition of cottage industry production of local tobacco products, which sustain poor communities. Politicians, legislators, health professionals, smokers, and wider society are constantly bombarded in the media by flawed or even fake science from academic and medical institutions and anti-THR NGOs, who often have financial and professional vested interests in denying the essential health benefits of SNP. The perverse irony here is that these bodies are quick to condemn THR advocates over spurious conflicts of interest without revealing their own deep collusion with anti-THR funders. Yeah, they like to deny that all the time. Oh, no, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
grassroots.
Roots.
We
Yeah.
just don't want to see our kids taken over by some epidemic and addicting our the next generation to nicotine. And blah, 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 blah. Come on, give me a
Yeah.
break. I mean, what? Why don't you do some research on nicotine and actually understand what you're talking about before you turn it into the boogeyman? Among those
Mhm.
regularly attacked are consumer advocates, campaigning for the right to health from bases across the world and formed international and international associations. Those lobbying for the right to access a consumer product simply on health grounds might be unique in the general history of consumer activism, which more often is focused and on demanding redress from commercial companies. There are concerns about teen vaping and the environmental impact of disposable vapes. All legitimate arguments to be made. Did we have a brash teen epidemic for a period of time? Sure, but kids being kids. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime something new comes out onto the market, anything that seems like a forbidden fruit, anything that seems like it's something they shouldn't have or shouldn't be doing, you can be damn sure that kids are going to try to get their hands on it. And so it's made its rounds, and I think it's tailing off because the kids got bored. It's not as exciting anymore. There's other things that they would rather get their hands on or try or do or challenge themselves.
Yeah. And I think with every generation, they get a little smarter too. Let's be honest.
Well, that's true. It's funny that you even brought it up because I remember last year I was, I don't have an obsession with security cameras, but, obviously I have a need to check in on the pool from time to time. And there was a group of kids down at the pool in the cabana, and there's a camera that points right down to that table that a lot of people sit at. And there was about 4 or 5 kids sitting there at the table. And I'm not saying these kids were saying the right thing or the wrong thing or whatever, but one of their buddies was sitting there vaping. And like 2 of the other dudes at the table were like giving him crap about, oh, that stuff's not good for you. That stuff's dangerous. And like part of me wanted to like jump out of my house and go run down there when they started talking about how, it was worse than cigarettes and all this other stuff, kind of feel like there was a general desire in me to kind of correct the messaging that was going on. But then at the same time, I thought to myself, well, maybe in some senses, maybe that was some good messaging these kids were passing along, because they saw their friend doing something that they didn't think was good for them.
Right.
And so even though they were dishing out a bunch of, more or less misinformation in their general commentary, I'm like, well, see, I do think, Jeffrey, good to see you. How are you? I think that the kids are looking out for their own, and I do think that they talk and they are somewhat aware. I worry about the information that the kids get.
Yeah. They're fed information 24, not like us. I mean, if we really, where did we get our information from? Our parents and a few adults, and maybe the news if we had enough time to sit down and actually, watch the news, or we got forced in government's class to actually read the newspaper. That's about it.
But I mean, I think where kids might fall short in their ability, because I think that the kids are more likely to latch on to things that seem more doom and gloomy.
Yeah.
I don't know that a kid in general terms would have enough critical thinking skills to be like, hey, I'm reading this article that shows this kid that got a double lung transplant supposedly from vaping, and there's all these articles about all these bad things that vaping can do with you, which just speaks to the effectiveness of these funded campaigns of misinformation that get spread around, because those are the most visible things. That's what the kids see. But I don't think you'd find too many kids like being, well, I'm going to take this a little bit further. I want to see if what I just read is really true. I think they're more inclined to believe the first thing that they hear, or be influenced by that, especially when you got to consider where they're getting their information from. A lot of them get their news from social media anymore. So if they blast those airwaves with a lot of misinformation and propaganda, but in the end, I think what I'm trying to say is that at least they were sort of encouraging their friend to not do that thing. Do you know what I mean? So in a certain way, I mean, it just goes to show that that kids are a little aware and that they're not a bunch of dummies. Where was I? Okay. The issue of preventing young people accessing vapes and addressing irresponsible device disposal are matters for enforcement and trading standards authorities. Simply trying to ban your way out of problems is never going to work, as we see with the growth of the illicit vape market. Nor should we nor should either issue become a smokescreen to hide behind what are essentially moral objections to the consumption of nicotine. Such arguments become even more exposed for what they are when S&P allow nicotine to be decoupled from cigarettes. Compared to the global value of the cigarette market at around $800 billion US, the market value of S&P at around 30 billion USD is still tiny by comparison. But all the market analysis indicates that the S&P market will continue to grow. Progress might be slower than desirable for the benefit of public health, but it is inexorable. That's a good word. That's your 3-point word for the day.
My Scrabble word.
Inexorable. But yeah, I mean, I think even in the eyes of all this negativity and the shaming of it and the banning of it and the reduction of it and the limitations of it and this, that, and the other thing, it is interesting to see that the trend is still going towards more and more and more people turning to vaping as an alternative to smoking. So I think that in and of itself speaks volumes to the success of vaping. And maybe that's one of the elements, one of the nuances of vaping that, you know, may end up working to our favor down the road, is that more people are onboarding themselves to it. So somewhere the messaging is getting across to people, despite all the BS that's out there, that people are trusting in it. They're finding it as a reasonable alternative. So anyway. So there's that. So 23 years today, Han Lick created the first vaping device. So pretty interesting. Still no deaths on our hands. Lots of people quitting smoking. No popcorn lung incidents that I'm aware of, other than the lies that are out there, which, you know, they're not traditional popcorn lung. So yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Do we want to talk about some more youth vaping issues?
Whatever you want to talk about, Timmy.
All right. Well, let's talk about. All right. This brings up great debates, right? Because, and I'm curious to hear what some of the opinions are. And I don't have context to this story. This is just something that Charles Gardner shared. We've had another incident, folks. We've had another incident with the Popo. Well, I say we because I speak on the community's behalf, but I'm speaking about it from a different perspective. Should kids just be left alone to break the law? No. Should kids be questioned and challenged when they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing? By all means. But here we are again. Let me present It's not even spelled that way, guys, in the program. It's present. I'm making it a fancy word, like Target. Yes, Target. All right. And this I'm sure will infuriate a lot of people. Hold on. So there's another video out where a kid, and I won't play the video because from what I saw in the video, it looks like it starts right from the point at which the cop actually kind of wrestles him to the ground. So I don't know here's another town in Ohio. Good luck pronouncing this one. Chillicothe. I don't know. I don't live in Ohio anymore, so I'm not. Chillicothe police tackle teen for smoking a vape. He's not smoking. Just say vaping. Yeah. Chillicothe, Ohio. The Chillicothe Police Department has come under scrutiny following a series of alleged instances of excessive force. The latest incident involves a teenager who was thrown to the ground and arrested over the use of a vape device. Well, here, I think it starts to play right away. You can.
Here for a reminder. 216 headquarters.
Where he's getting cuffed.
Officers in Chillicothe stopped a 16-year-old teen after he was spotted hitting the vape after getting off the school bus.
All right. Well, we don't. All right. Oh, wait. Hold on. Hold on. Let's do this, John. Let me
Yeah, go
stop
ahead.
sharing and I'll bring it back with the sound. Let's all like this can be one of those you make the call kind of videos.
Yeah,
Let's
you
actually
make
see
that.
what happened with this kid, and
Yeah.
let's just see this, because my initial thought was, oh, the video starts right when the kid gets handcuffed, so we're not going to get any context, but it does look like we're going to get to see the whole body cam footage, so we can all make the call here and see if now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the cop was right. I'm not saying the cop was right in any sense. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about a teenager here, but my questions immediately went to, okay, should a kid be thrown to the ground over vaping? No, I don't think so at all. I think if you talk to somebody in a professional manner and
Right.
you question them properly, you're probably not going to have these confrontations. But what I'm interested to find out is, did the kid get mouthy? Did he
Yeah.
did he kind of do what a lot of kids do, and that is like, screw
Did he
you,
turn
cop.
into the YouTube lawyer?
Yes, let's find out. All right, so I gotta do present, share
Yeah.
screen. I gotta. Oh, the audio is on, so you guys could probably hear that. I'm thinking you guys could hear this. It says audio is on.
Yeah.
All right, Can I make the video bigger?
Yeah.
I sure can. All right, tell me if you guys can hear this. So this looks like the beginning of the video where the kid was approached.
I know my rights. I know my rights.
Get on the ground.
No, what the fuck? What the hell?
Get on the ground.
What the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
Turn over. Put your hands behind your back. Both of them.
What the fuck is wrong with you, bro? Dude, no, let me call my parents. What the fuck?
Stop.
I just got out of school. No.
Come help me. Grab his hands.
Let me call my parents. I'm a minor.
I don't care if you're a minor.
Ah, I can't breathe. Fucking hell. Oh, I can't breathe.
216 headquarters.
I can't breathe, dude. My parents. I want my
Grab his
parents. I
arm.
know my rights. I want my parents. I know my rights.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. What the hell?
Car.
Bro, what the fuck? My shit's on the ground and
Put your
everything.
feet over there. All right, we don't want to cuss. He's in the backseat.
All right.
That's crazy.
Hold on. It's a 2-minute video, so let's see.
You said bridge and water. You said bridge and water. Well, you feel out of breath or something on the radio.
Yeah, we stopped because this kid we literally watched him get off the bus. He doesn't see us. We're sitting right here. Walks by puffing on a vape. Let's just go take it from him. So we pull over. He fucking decides he's going to turn and go take off running. And I get my hands on him and he throws his fucking hands up and I'm like, nope. As soon as I got him on the ground, the fight was on. I had to chase his ass all the way back down here.
Yep.
216. Is everything all right?
No, he's
All right. So
Yeah.
that's basically the long and short of it. So we heard
Yeah.
what the cop had to say. So he said that he got off the bus.
Yeah.
He walked right past the
Past
cops,
them.
right? And he's puffing on the vape, almost like sort of throwing his nose up to the fact that,
Yeah.
oh, it's the cops. I'm going to do whatever I want. And then when the cop got out of his car to go approach him, as he approached the kid took off running. Well, that's probably not shocking. I think most kids would probably do that. They don't want to get busted. They don't want to get caught. And so
Yeah.
then when he caught up to him, that's when apparently the kid put his hands up to
Yeah.
challenge him physically.
He said, I know my rights.
So this kid got off the school bus. So we can instantaneously, he's not old enough to be vaping in the first place. All right. But what do you think, John, would have been is a general proper response to a situation like this? Do you chase a kid down over a vape? Is that
Yeah,
where
I
the
think
cops done-
if it's true what he said, that he was just going to take it away from him, and I think that's what generally was going to happen. I think they were going to approach him, take it from him, and go on about your day, because that's what they do at the school. I mean, at the school, you cannot have a pack of cigarettes, you can't have cigarettes, you can't have a lighter, you can't have a vape for sure. But I know my son who's got in trouble for all those things back, when he was in high school, and he got suspended for having a lighter. Didn't have any cigarettes with him, but he had a lighter, so that was enough. So I think I think they were going to take it from him, And you know, again, YouTube lawyer, it sounded like he tried to throw that "I know my rights" bullshit into, you know, you're a minor. Is possession illegal? Yeah, it is. You're not supposed to possess that device. You're not supposed to have that device, period. So um, but yeah, I go like you said though, Tim. It all comes down to that initial action, how you're going to act, and if you were to just, if he would have just handed it to him and said, "Here you go, sorry," you know, blah blah blah, they would probably just, he would probably walked home. You know what I mean?
Well,
But
right, and that's where I kind of feel like the lines get blurred a little bit because
yeah,
I think and this is to not give cops a 100% pass in most situations, but everybody's kind of bringing up the point: is it illegal for him to possess that vape? Well, the state laws would
yeah,
say that it's illegal for someone to possess, purchase, or use those particular products. So, I mean, no different than if he was smoking a cigarette and walking by the cop. It
yeah,
would literally, the tobacco law is more than likely exactly the same. But where the lines get a little blurred for me is that it's the interaction that has to
right,
happen
right, right,
in order, because I mean, you've got a cop who is watching a kid do something that he's not supposed to be doing,
right,
and then you've got a kid who is uh, kind of resisting the whole process of just respecting the law at
yeah,
that point. And I think that that's where these situations just get uncomfortable for everybody. Like
yeah,
no one wants. I mean, as all of us here will immediately say, we don't want kids to see kids vaping. I mean, that's a
yeah,
general sentiment that we show, that
yeah,
we share. But are we going to be able? I mean, just because we want that doesn't mean that the kids aren't going to still do it. So we
right,
don't have any authority to invoke that. Um, yeah, I don't know, the rifleman. That's a good one
yeah,
that to look into the Ohio law, because I think it's
yeah,
not so much the fact that if the kid, I fully believe that if the kid had it and he was using it, and let's just say he was being ignorant to the cops, if the cops had just
right,
approached him and said, "Hey, give me the vape. You're not supposed to have the vape," or whatever, I don't think it would have become much of a situation at all. I think it probably would have just been water under the bridge. The cop may have given him a ticket, or maybe just sent him on his way. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
And be done with it. I mean, I think there's 1,000 other things that a cop could be worried about going on this planet than a kid with a vape. But I think that where it gets ugly and uncomfortable is just the interaction that happens when it goes south. Is the kid running and resisting and all of that stuff, and then people get put into more compromising situations.
yeah, yeah.
I think in this particular case, maybe the cop probably could figure out who this kid was,
Mm.
and maybe didn't need to have the confrontation in the first place. Probably
Yeah,
could have just taken note about it and done an investigation of some kind. He got off the
yeah,
bus. You could
yeah,
just go stop the bus, go to the bus driver and say, "Hey, who was that blonde-haired kid that got off the bus at this stop?"
yeah,
And
yeah.
then pursue it in a way where it doesn't have to become this
Well,
spectacle.
here's my point. If he were to got caught at school, they would have took it from him. There's no question about it. The
Right.
possession, he's not supposed to have that on school campus. So having it in his possession, and I think you are technically still a student until you reach your house. So, but from the time you leave your campus to the time you get to your door, you're still the school's responsibility, especially if you've gotten off the bus. So, I mean, that's how it works here in Cal. I don't know how it works in any other state, but here in California, you're still a student until you get to your house. So, especially if you're coming off a bus. So, if he were at school and he was approached by the vice principal while doing this, this whole altercation would have been the same. It would have been the same, just knowing what type of kid this is. I can see this kid doing the same thing to the vice principal, saying, "I know my rights. I know my rights." Well, obviously you don't know your rights because you're not supposed to possess that device on school campus and you're a minor. So for me, could have been handled differently. Yeah, I think it could have been handled differently. I think, but again, we don't live in Ohio. I don't know what the crime rate is. I don't know what how on edge an officer is. I mean, there's a lot of things that come into play on how a specific officer reacts in different circumstances, especially in different areas and different cities and different states. So, I mean, did he overreact? I have no idea. I don't know what do you trust a teenager as a cop in Ohio? I don't know. But again, like I said, I have no idea, but could it have been handled differently? Probably on both parties, though. I'm not blaming one or the other. I think both of them could have handled it differently. I think the kid should have just took his punishment. He should have handed it over to him. He probably wouldn't even have called his cops, Tim. I mean, his mom. He probably would
No,
have just
that's what I'm saying. Is I feel like if you could have had a reasonable interaction with the kid, I believe the cop would have had other mitigational ways of taking care of the situation without turning it. Now, if the fact that the kid ran immediately, obviously showed that he didn't want to respect the cop in the first place. And I think that there's maybe with police officers, I have to imagine. I've never been a police officer. I don't aspire to be a cop. I mean, thank them for being
you
around.
Make a great cop. You'd make a great cop, Tim.
No, I wouldn't. My hair's too long. But I think that there are some issues with police officers in the fact that, when they choose to pursue a situation in the face of being rejected and not showing respect to their particular authority. But I just, I think it's sad to see that we've gotten to a place where these kinds of interactions are the ones over a vape. I mean, we're not talking, and the kid didn't have a semi-automatic, handgun in his hand. He wasn't walking around with a Tech 9. He wasn't, brandishing a machete and walking it down the street and really posing a threat, an overall threat to the community. I think those are situations where a cop could, without a doubt, approach the situation and say, hey, I can't allow that to happen. I don't know what this loose cannon kid's going to do.
Yeah.
You're talking about a vape. I think there's times when the cop can make a conscious decision, say, there's other ways that I can get around. Now, whether that is too much work for him to go figure out who the kid was, I mean, then it's his word against, the cop's word and all this. Anyway, I did look up the law in Ohio, and it's very bland. It doesn't really specify. It just says the sale or distribution of alternative nicotine products to persons under the age of 21 is prohibited. The purchase or possession of alternative nicotine products is not allowed for persons under the age of 21 unless a parent accompanies them. So if the parent was with him, then the cop wouldn't have done squat because he can't really do anything about it. I agree, Janine. I think ego gets in the way.
Ego does get in the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cop probably went up with good intentions and was like, hey, give me that vape. You're not supposed to have it. The kid was clearly breaking the law. Because, I mean, let's be realistic here. I mean, granted, he's a kid. I mean, actions have consequences. So, I mean, should the kid be surprised if the cop came up to him? Probably not. But in the same regard, he was illegally possessing a vape that the cop felt was a worthy enough situation to approach. Maybe he was having a slow day, not enough people running red lights. I don't know. Who knows why the cops were all sitting on the side of the street? Maybe they were there monitoring the bus traffic and just making sure that kids were getting off the bus and being safe. But the problem starts when the kid walks by the cop car. Just like, dude, put it in your pocket. You know what I mean? Just pocket the damn thing until you get around the corner. Like, don't do it right in a cop's face. What do you think? You're just asking to be confronted. So I know my rights. I know my rights. Well, I don't think it had anything to do with the rights about vaping. I just think he felt like, he knew his rights and that he couldn't be challenged by that police officer or something. I'm not really quite sure. So anyway,
guess what?
Well, this is where we're at. We've seen a few of these. I think you know, my parents, you know, probably, you know, would have protected me in a lot of situations, but I do think that sometimes kids have to learn the
The
tough
hard way.
lessons, whether in this case, if it's a vape. And but let's go on with the article here, because they do continue to talk about what was really sort of the questionable element here, right?
Mhm.
So the body cam footage raises concerns. The Guardian recently obtained body camera footage of the incident, or from the incident, which has raised questions about the officer's actions. In the video, an officer can be seen kneeling on what appears to be the upper back neck area of the teen. The teen can be heard saying, "I can't breathe," to the officers. According to the department's report, the incident occurred near the intersection of Sugar Street and Water Street. The officer initially claimed the officer involved claimed they were initially stopped for a school bus. Upon noticing a teenage male disembarking and walking westbound on Water Street, the officer allegedly observed the teen using a vape device. Well, we saw that he had it because it was in the video. He had
Yeah.
the purple vape in his hand. The situation escalated when the officer said he attempted to communicate with the teen. The report states that the teen allegedly ignored the officer's attempts. When the officer grabbed the teen by the shoulder, the teen allegedly raised his hands toward the officer's face. The officer claims this was the reason behind the takedown. And
Yeah.
I think that's another issue that we deal with in general terms, not just around vapes. And I don't want to go off on any diatribes here, but I do think that plays a part in the story, in that the kid challenged the cop physically. So
Here's our new favorite YouTube name.
microwave. The kids are acting up again. They decided to, they didn't blow vapor in the cop's face, but he was vaping in front of a cop, and the cop decided he needed to get involved. So kids are acting up again. Hey, Curtis, good to see you, brother. How are you? Good to see you, Microwave. Thanks for being on the show tonight. We're talking about kids and vaping getting taken down by the cops. Critics are questioning the legality of the stop and the handling of the situation. The use of force, particularly the officer's decision to kneel on the teen's upper back, has ignited additional controversy. Over the last few years, reform efforts have been underway nationwide to stop the practice of officers kneeling on the backs and necks of those in custody. The haunting specter of George Floyd's final moments looms large, serving as a stark reminder of the lethal consequences that can arise from such practice. So I'm not going to follow this story. I'm not going to go deeper and see what happens to the cop. I hate to get into the social justice talking points, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's sad that we're at a state, where these products, are constituting police confrontations with younger kids. But kids, just put the vape in your pocket. Just stop being dummies. Stop being dummies.
In your opinion, who does this story set? How do I put this? Which side does this story make it look bad for, in your opinion?
I think I think for the
I was thinking about the whole time you were talking about it. I'm like,
I think for the cop. I just think for the cop, the fact that that people are so polarized by police interaction. And I think in this particular case, you're talking about a kid, who's just being an ass.
Oh,
like
no.
Jeffrey
I'm talking about the anti-vaping groups and ourselves, which that's what I'm talking about. The cop part, yeah, I'm with you 100% there. But I'm talking about, does this story, does it look worse for anti-vaping groups or our group?
Well, I think my honest opinion, I mean, I think it looks worse for the anti-vaping groups. I think because it's lending credence to the fact that, that their fervor to make this product such a boogeyman. I mean, I think any of us here, I mean, of course, we don't want kids to vape, but if you were a parent and you walked into their bedroom and you just happen to be seeing what they're involved in, would you rather see a vape laying on their table, or would you rather see that pack of cigarettes laying on the table? And I think if you have to look at these things from a lesser of two evils, I think I'm more inclined to be a little relieved as a parent that the conversation that I'm having to have with my kid is around a vape, because I know it's more about principle at that point. It's about, you know what, you're not supposed to have that. We can talk about whether or not it's good for you, bad for you. We can have that conversation. But the point is, there's other lessons that need to be taught here. And that is that, you know, you're just not supposed to have that in general terms. But I'm relieved that it was a vape and not cigarettes, because if you got hooked on that shit, could be a lot worse.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it makes, yeah. And you know, and with respect to who does it make it look bad, then I think the other side of the fence is going to look at a situation like that and go, look, see, this is exactly what we're talking about. We got a youth vaping epidemic. These kids are hooked. They're just fiends. They're demons. They got to have their friggin' vapes. And look what's happening to our kids. They're getting confronted by police officers and being thrown to the ground and treated like it's a problem. Ban it all.
They're treated like animals.
So I maybe my answer was biased.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know.
I'm with you. It's tough to.
Did you have? I didn't want to interrupt you. Did you have a feel good story for tonight? I know.
No, I didn't. I couldn't find one, man.
Nobody's being nice. I did see one, and unfortunately, it didn't really have a story to go along with it. But I saw a story where two teenagers came up to a homeless man and brought him food, and gave them their food. These two kids gave this homeless man their food, and then they walked away, and they came back and they brought him money.
Oh, huh?
Did I break up during that story?
Yeah, you did. But you're okay now.
Oh, okay. Well, what I was saying is it was a story about two teenagers. It was a video where two teenagers approached a homeless man and gave him food, and then they left and came back and brought him money. So it was obviously like it was a good moment to see that the kids trying to help out the less fortunate. It's not really yeah, exactly. That's the overall presiding feel good story there, Janine, is that we don't smoke anymore. Let's talk about this article. This one probably may take us into the tail end of the show here, but I got one more. Actually, John, you had another one. Hold on, what's this one? Let me see which one John's talking about. I got a couple for people here. So we have okay, we'll let the audience decide. Do you want to hear tobacco-free kids and allies demand harsh enforcement against flavored vapes, or do you want to hear the article on CMRRA urges end to vape disinformation? Which one sounds more interesting to you guys out there? I don't know. Who wants to hear about the harsh regulations, right? Let's see what tobacco-free kids is talking about real quick. Let's just if this one gets us too frustrated, we'll quit. We'll shift over to the other one. How about that? Okay, we'll do that. So, all right, let me share my screen. Where tobacco-free kids.
Well, this kind of falls right into the article though that we just did
about
harsher.
Kids?
Harsher enforcement.
All right. Okay, so
we kind of just.
Tobacco-free kids and allies demand harsh enforcement against flavored vapes. Okay, you're right. It does dovetail right into that. All right, so we could talk about this. All right, so a letter from 78 special interest organizations calling for increased federal government enforcement against flavored vaping products, especially popular disposable vapes, was sent yesterday to FDA Commissioner Robert Califf, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland. Oh, great, that guy's a joy. And Troy Miller of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The letter was announced in a campaign for tobacco-free kids press release. Tobacco-free kids probably wrote the letter and organized support for it. Among the organizations signing on to the letter are tobacco control, medical specialty, education, and political groups. The Tobacco-Free Kids letter echoes demands by cigarette giants R.J. Reynolds and Altria Group that the FDA enforce against vape products that have not received FDA authorization and protect the handful of big tobacco vape products that have received FDA marketing permission. Wholesale removal of popular vaping products from the market would also increase falling cigarette sales for Altria and Reynolds. Of course. Why wouldn't tobacco-free kids prop up to save big tobacco?
Oh, yeah.
It's so entirely contradictory. I mean, just the hypocrisy in the fact that a
one doesn't exist
anti-tobacco,
with the other. One doesn't exist with the other, to be honest. The
well,
funding, we all
exactly.
know where the funding comes from. So
Yeah, but I mean, it's just,
yeah,
I don't know, it's
yeah,
just so
yeah,
disgusting to
yeah.
see an anti-organization
Mhm.
that talks about tobacco-free kids would want to fight
Mhm.
to preserve the big tobacco products that are out there, because like you said, one doesn't exist without the other. They got to have something to
Yeah.
continually fight, which they don't really put up much resistance to. The letter
Mhm.
calls for the FDA and its enforcement partners at the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection to use all the enforcement tools at their disposal against manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, and retailers to clear the market of unauthorized e-cigarette products, including flavored products that put young people at risk for nicotine addiction and other significant health harms. Which ones? Which ones? Can you elaborate on that? Although FDA has issued over 600 warning letters to firms for manufacturing or selling new tobacco products without marketing authorization, the letter says it has made sparing use of its stronger enforcement tools with respect to manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, and retailers, including civil monetary penalties, CMPs, no tobacco sale orders, product seizures, import restrictions, injunctive actions, and criminal prosecutions. For example, as of the present time, FDA has filed CMP complaints against only 55 manufacturers and 108 retailers. Injunctions have been sought against only 7 manufacturers, and there has been a single seizure pursuant to a civil forfeiture complaint. This level of enforcement activity is far from adequate given the unprecedented scope of illegal e-cigarette sales. Well,
Mhm.
we saw some more busts going down.
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously they're doing
No
something.
pictures though. No pictures yet.
Of course. Well, they're trying to get FaceTime. They're trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
look good in the eyes of the ants.
yeah.
But not shocked. So I mean, yeah, go after the vapes, but we don't care about the cigarettes. We don't care
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
doing more to minimize availability of cigarettes to kids, because they're going to try something in their lifetime. I think you're going after the wrong red herring here. These
Yeah.
78 organizations, all of which claim to hate and work toward the destruction of the tobacco industry. Sure. Yeah,
Sure.
that was just so evident up here.
The top, yeah.
I mean, obviously they just can't stand one another. Like tobacco-free kids, just they walk
Yeah.
around with like, we hate big tobacco, we hate Altria. They picket with signs all day long.
Mhm.
Um, these all of which claim to hate and work toward the destruction of the tobacco industry, now join the bizarre alliance fighting to protect the existing tobacco market. The team of rivals includes the tobacco industry, Democratic U.S. senators, and mostly Republican state legislators working on behalf of the tobacco companies and the vape-hating FDA leadership.
Mm. Mm.
The
Mm.
FDA Center for Tobacco Products has not authorized a single flavored vape product or a single bottled e-liquid, and has not granted marketing permission to a vape product of any kind since current CTP director Brian King was appointed 2 years ago. The CTP is fully funded by tobacco company user fees, which are mostly is that true? Fully funded by company user fees?
Mm. Yeah.
So rich people, well, there you go, right?
Yeah.
But so user fees, that implies that people, in order to be part of that organization, have to pay a fee to be part of that organization.
Yep.
Exactly. They don't hate their money, Rifleman.
Yeah.
They like
No,
that
nobody.
money.
Yeah. Those checks
Exactly.
come in handy, man.
Which are mostly generated by cigarette sales.
Yeah.
What? The CTP is fully funded by tobacco company user fees. So these must be tobacco
Yeah.
executives, big
Executives.
tobacco
Yeah.
executives who are taking their cigarette sales revenue and passing it down to CTP. Tobacco Free
Mhm.
Kids has previously collaborated with the tobacco industry on the 1998 Master Settlement Agreement and on the writing and passage of the 2009 Tobacco Control Act. So how that is just so contradictory.
Yeah.
So they
Yep.
collaborated on the MSA. which we all know what happens with the MSA, because that money coming back into the states is all predicated on the amount of cigarette sales that happen from within that state.
Yep.
So how does one achieve its goal if its alternative goal is to make sure that that money is cycling?
Yep.
You're welcome,
Tobacco
Curtis.
taxes. Tobacco taxes.
I'm here for the people in the back who didn't get a chance to read this article. Yeah, so I don't know. This just is a little bit mind-boggling to me. I don't, so what they don't talk, can we read the letter? Is the letter posted anywhere?
I don't know. There should be a link to it if it was.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
why can't I would like to read the letter.
Yeah. I don't see a link.
Well, yeah, well, you can link out to some of the other things. I would really like to see what's in that letter.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying who they should.
You got to
go
pay
after.
You got to pay user fees to read that letter.
Oh,
too.
and I'm not giving CTP. I know you are, Curtis. I know you are. It's just interesting to me that the people that we stand up against are the ones who are just effectively in bed with big tobacco to begin with. Yep. They're scratching each other's back. So what do you think that enforcement would entail, John? If there's more stronger enforcement, more of the same, that's what's going on now, or do you think what do you think they're ultimately looking for?
I don't know, man. I think they can't put any more pressure on the industry that they already have. I think it's going to leave a scar. I think that's why these busts have been so small. There hasn't been this big major bust yet, and I think they want to keep them small because it lights a picture. It makes them look bad as well, because if they've had the time to go through those PMTAs, they've had the time to authorize a flavor, a brand, something to make this a lot easier, not just themselves, but the rest of the industry and us as consumers. So yeah. I think the more pressure they put on, I think it just puts a bad look on them, because I think people are going to start realizing that, like, what the hell's going on? I mean, they have everyone submitted their PMTAs on time, in a timely manner, filled them out properly, took the time to fill them out properly. Some of them spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get these done for what? This holdup, this nonsense of moving the goalpost, changing, moving it left to right, maybe 5 yards further, never closer. But yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, I think the more they enforce it and the bigger the busts are, I think the more it makes them look bad. It makes them, because nobody likes a government that's the bully. And that's what they're going to end up becoming, is the bully. And I think they don't want to have that. And I think that's the reason we see, 45,000 vape devices, blah, 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 or 20,000 chump change. So, but yeah, I think eventually people are going to look at them and say, well, hey, this should be done. This issue should be taken care of years ago when everybody turned in their PMTAs. You can't just, and then the fact what they pulled that bullshit where they just denied everybody right off the bat, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. That, I mean, couldn't do it any more fishier than they did. I mean, not even I hate saying this, not even the mafia was that transparent. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just, it's a frustrating situation. I don't know. Do you feel like there's like a wolf in sheep's clothing in this particular case, that there's something else more at stake here, and that this is maybe part of I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like some of big tobacco's market move is to kind of, press to get vaping sort of like taken off the market, obviously for monopolization purposes, right? To be able to preserve their products alone and have only their products available on the shelves, but maybe a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing, in the sense that if they can keep up this particular pressure, because obviously there's not much resistance from tobacco-free kids to really want to eradicate combustible tobacco with the next generation. I mean, obviously they're bedfellows here. They want to keep it preserved, but but if it starts to trend more that way, do you see big tobacco trying to use their money and their influence to somehow kind of reinvigorate the idea that that flavored vapes serve a purpose and that they could get more of a stronghold on the market, since they're the ones who will have the ability to persist, that they'll try to marginalize us more and more and more, only to sort of
Yeah.
become sort of the pseudo savior in the end.
Yeah, that's what it almost feels like. It's like I had that feeling for a while, like they were going to be that person that comes in. What is that saying? On the 13th hour or whatever, that just all of a sudden just shows up and saves everything, and we're just going to have to accept it. And I hope not. I hope not. I hope that's not what's happening here, because I think there's still a lot of us that don't trust them. And again, I mean, like I said, I mean, there are how many? What you got? You got VG, PG, flavors, nicotine, and what else? That's it. You have 4 things that you can put into a vape, into e-liquid. And again, yes, you can add other flavors, 4, 5, 6, 7 things, whatever, but it's still a basic formula. I don't think even big tobacco or anybody else can put something in there that we're not going to know about. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
I'm
what
not saying they would change the recipe, but
yeah,
to Jeffrey's point, right? Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
believe Bloomberg puts more in than the big tobacco.
yeah,
I think what my implication here is, I don't think, from my perspective looking at it, I don't think Bloomberg has any interest. I mean, granted, he had his little product that he wanted to put out or whatever,
yeah.
I mean, which seems a bit contradictory. But I think what I'm saying is that big tobacco is just kind of playing along right now, going, well, we're
Yeah,
just be the bad guy for right now. Just play the bad guy. We'll let you have a few products, push them out of the market, because we know they're not things that people want. I just feel like somehow there's something going on underneath the sheets. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
No,
Like,
I'm with
we'll
you. I'm
find
with
them
you.
to be more involved in this, and when it's all said and done. And I agree with you too, Curtis, in the sense that I don't think vaping is going to go anywhere in
No.
totality. I think it'll always be available in some way, shape, or form. Um, Sadly enough, I know it's going to be harder for certain people to get what they want, but I mean, there are always ways.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you might not be the friggin' I don't even know what the mango that you enjoy, but you'll find the mango out there somehow, some way. You will find a mango that works for you, and I mean, it's just depending on your preferences and how important it is to you. When
Yeah.
you read the label and who's on the label, is it RJ Tobacco? Is it some manufacturer out of LA somewhere? I mean, I think those days in the beginning where I said it in the beginning of the show, I think in the beginning, yeah, I think there was a lot of people in this industry that didn't want big tobacco involved. And I can understand that, they were lied to, their grandparents were lied to, their parents were lied to, they've seen family members die. They want no part of it. But I think now, with everything being so transparent, I think it would be so difficult for big tobacco to do anything different to the e-liquid that it wouldn't hurt them in the long run. If
No,
this is where they want to go, you know what I mean? Because I think
exactly.
I think they do. I think they think the same thing. Will cigarettes disappear? No, not in certain parts of in the world, there will always be cigarettes. And I mean, they know that, and they want to keep control of those markets. But I think they also realize that there is harm reduction in vaping. It's just they weren't in it in the earlier stages, and I think they wish they were. And now they're trying to get into it. And I think the acquisition of a few companies 5, 6, 7 years ago was a stepping stone in some people think it was in the right direction, because we all assumed that if the big tobacco was involved, then the FDA would be more likely to approve some of these PMTAs.
And
But we
back off
learned,
a little bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, to microwave, to your question, are there any popular vapes sold by big tobacco? No, because I mean, they may be people's only option, but I
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't call them popular. I mean, now I had a buddy come over from the UK not that long ago, and he had an Enjoy device that was just a tobacco vape. So he preferred that. But I can't think of too many people who are like, oh, I can't wait to run down to the gas station and go ahead and get that Enjoy device, that tobacco Enjoy device. I think those were just sort of some gimmies to kind of have an offering in the store, but I don't hear people ranting and raving about them. I can't imagine anybody would be thrilled about that crap. So I don't know.
Yeah. Cutwood brought by a Marble rumor is all calling I'm calling it bullshit. So that was the one that I remembered, and I wasn't sure if it was true or not. But when Cutwood got bought by Marlboro, but I think that was just a bullshit rumor. I think it was just that some of the other companies trying to get the big boys of Cutwood out of the picture with their amazing unicorn piss.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's crazy stuff.
Crazy
well,
stuff.
We made it, John. 2 hours.
We did it. We did 2 hours. We did 2 hours of this show. It's always fun doing the show with Tim, and you guys keep it fun. You guys keep it fun. And we enjoy it every week. Hopefully we can get our whole crew back eventually here soon. Allie's still, like I said, Allie's going through that transition where she's going to be empty nester. The son will be off in college, and she's been really busy. So we're as soon as Allie gets back on the show, we look forward to having her back on.
Yeah, I want to hear that story about her, the litigation that she had to go through, the fighting of the bill. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, that's going to be insane. So I mean, there's so many change. We got to see her text messages in our team chat, and there's excitement, and then there isn't, then there's excitement, then there's like down, and then excitement, and then it's
there's
like,
stress,
oh man,
and despair. It spanned all of the emotions, so I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, and we're glad you're still here, Janine. And Tim,
we love
Tim
that
will
all
hit
of
you
you
with all
guys
your.
are here.
Tim will hit you with all your new nicknames because I can't remember them all.
Maybe next week you're Janine. Wow, I'm still here, Timmons.
Yeah. Don't forget the dress, tight dress.
Exactly.
All right, Timmy, everybody, thank you again for joining us. We will be back next week. I do not have a show for tomorrow, Thursdays in the Vapor. I'm taking the day off, guys, to heal this throat. I'm starting to sound like Lou Raw, and I hate coughing in camera. And every time I know I'm going to cough, I want to go and I don't hit it in time. So so I'm going to take a break on the Thursday, and we'll be back with this show Wednesday Night Live, and then I'll be back next Thursday with In the Vapor as well. Timmy, look in the camera, and you know what to do.
Bye, everybody. See you next week.